Hello and welcome this week as we continue our journey toward the fourth Sunday in Lent, March the 14th, 2021. Today, we'd like to look at the Psalm, which is Psalm number 107. Two parts, verses 1 through 3, and then leaping ahead to 17 through 22. So let me read the psalm for you and then share some reflections that I've gathered for today. Give thanks to the Lord, for the Lord is good, for God's mercy endures forever. Let the redeemed of the Lord proclaim that God redeemed them from the hand of the foe, gathering them from the lands, from the east and from the west, from the north and from the south. Some were fools and took rebellious paths. Through their sins they were afflicted. They loathed all manner of food and drew near to death's door. Then in their trouble they cried out to the Lord, and you delivered them from their distress. You sent forth your word and healed them and rescued them from the grave. Let them give thanks to you, Lord, for your steadfast love and your wonderful works for all people. Let them offer sacrifices of thanksgiving and tell of your deeds with shouts of joy. Here ends the psalm. Thanks be to God. As I said, today's reading of this psalm has this big split. We go to verse 3 and then jump quite a bit, honestly, to verse 17. The first verse of today's reading, Psalm 107, verse 1, is a pretty standard call to worship or praise. Give thanks to the Lord, for the Lord is good, for God's mercy endures forever. And then the next two verses announce who is to come give thanks to the Lord. Verse 2 tells us that it is the redeemed of the Lord who are to give thanks. Even more specifically, it is those redeemed or rescued from the hand of their enemies. Verse 3 broadens the scope of all of this by pointing toward the east, the west, the north, and the south. In other words, the four corners of the world. People across the whole world are given a call to worship or to praise the Lord. Verses 4 through 16, which are the ones we did not read, list out a lot of specific types of people and what God has rescued them from, what their enemy or foe was. A pattern is established. The trouble is described. Then they cried to the Lord in their trouble. Then God saved them from their distress. Then the rescued is described, how it happened. Then the encouragement comes, let them thank the Lord for his steadfast love, for his wonderful works to humankind. And then some closing words of praise. And that pattern is repeated throughout those verses. Now we pick up with verse 17, and it is similar, of course, that pattern. The theological point here seems to be that it is making for us is that sometimes our sin is simply that we're stubbornly foolish. And when we are, our foolishness can lead to our own suffering, the consequences of such. This sounds a little like Sunday's first reading, in which those wandering in the wilderness who are suffering the consequences of their own foolish choice or sinful choice are then grumbling against Moses and God. We talked a little bit about that in yesterday's reflections. We come to verse 19, near the end of this psalm for today, and this carries the theme forward by pointing out that they cried out to the Lord and were delivered from their distress. And verse 20 makes a very interesting statement, I think. It says, you sent forth your word and healed them. Now, The Hebrew word translated as sent forth carries more significance than just a simple pronouncement of healing for an individual or even for a group of people. Imagine God's word being sent forth broadly across the whole of creation. While individuals receive healing, even groups of people receive healing, so does everything else in creation. The natural response to being rescued, especially being rescued from death, is give thanks and tell others. As Christians, we make the connection of this psalm to God's rescue of all the world through Jesus. John's Gospel calls Jesus the Word made flesh. God's Word was sent forth, much as we read about in verse 20, today's psalm. And John's Gospel makes it clear that Jesus, the Word, was sent forth because God loves the whole world, everyone and everything. Maybe you caught the connection there to John 3:16, some people's favorite verse out of the whole Bible. God so loved what? The world. One commentator writes, God has spoken a word of love and life to all creation. His name is Jesus. Thank you for joining me again today as we continue our journey toward the fourth Sunday in Lent, covering today the Psalm for Sunday. I hope you have a great day. Take care. God bless.